You know, Clark losing Alicia took a toll on him. You would have think he would have had at least an episode to grieve, blaming others for putting the guilty hat on Alicia too soon. He also would have been confronted by Alicia's parents, also blaming him. Friends would try to console him, but he would have a hard time accepting help until he gets the kickstarter to the brain by none other than Lois. I will call the episode Burden. You would think that it would be something like that, right? Well, I hate to disappoint, but the next filler episode is titled Recruit.
What the hell is this?
Yep, the following episode, after losing the woman he loved and potentially move on for Lana, is taking a weekend to Metropolis University to accept his scholarship, and to get incentive, he is showered with possibly a new ride and girls, girls, girls. God, why I didn't play football. But that's not how the episode starts. Lois is arrested for aggravated battery when the guy she fought off was paralyzed. Jeff Johns, the guy who brings Clark to McU, is from Smallville. He has the power to render people paralyzed for a short time. He was the one that paralyzed the guy that tried to kiss Lois and later killed them. The reason is because Jeff was going to be exposed to the NCAA. Lois was on to Jeff, but was almost drowned if Clark hadn't saved her. This prompted Clark to give up football, saying that it's not fair that he's out there competing, knowing that everyone he plays with will be at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, Jason's considering taking up Lex's offer, but Lana is against it. Lex reveals to Lana that Jason knew of Isabel since he was a child, questioning if Jason is in on everything that's going on. Chloe learns more about Clark's secret, but she's doing a horrible job of being subtle about it. Oh yeah, Lois is kicked out of MetU and swindles Clark into moving back to the farm. The episode Crypto deals with kryptonite-enhanced dolls controlled by two animal shelter workers to rob banks. One of the dolls escapes, and Clark befriends the dog and keeps him, naming him Shelby. Meanwhile, Lana gets Chloe to investigate Jason's family tree, and comes to find out Jason's grandmother has Isabel's tomb moved to the church where Lana touched it. Jason gets the map from Lionel to find one of the stones. Now let's move on with the episode Sacred. As Clark scrambles to finish his college applications, he gets a certified package from Virgil Swan. Right at the same time, it was announced that he passed away. Clark opens the package, and it was the spaceship's key finally returned after last season. Jonathan and Martha are against Clark getting in back with Jarrell. Feeling he has no choice, Clark goes to the case and uses the key. We then hear Jarrell's voice for the first time since last season.
I knew you would return, my son.
Why did you send me to find this?
The knowledge of our civilization was encoded in 3 stones, brought to Earth and hidden at the far reaches of the world.
Jason lies to Lana that he's in Metropolis, but he's actually in Shanghai. Lex follows Jason and confronts him. They are then chased by Chinese police. If you want to call them cops, they do look like cops, but I think they're not cops. I think they're just like other bad people that are also looking for the stones. Anyway, Lana goes to see Lex but runs into Lionel. He reveals on the whereabouts of Jason and Lex. Lionel presents Lana with another copy of the map. Clark goes to see Lana, getting ready to follow Lex and Jason to China. Clark decides to go with her and not tell his parents. Meanwhile, Lex and Jason are brought to the temple for interrogation. But come to find out, Lex set this up so Jason can tell what he knows, but it backfired on Lex. Lana and Clark make it to Shanghai, and they are greeted by an associate of Lionel. They make it to the temple and they split up. Clark opens up a secret wall, and there was an artifact full of kryptonite eating its weak. Lana and the associate was ambushed by the guards and killed Lionel's associate. They were going to kill Lana until they saw the tattoo on her back. They bring Lana to where Jason and Lex are being held, and it was going to use Lana to get the information they wanted until Isabel possessed Lana again. Isabel kills the guards and grabs the map and leaves out. Clark gets free of the kryptonite and is confronted by Isabel. They both fight, but Isabel gets away. Clark frees Jason and Lex, and they go over the map. Lex says that Lionel searched every inch of the temple. Clark figures out that it is not a map of the temple, but is a picture of the temple. And the artist had to be standing where they were drawing, which Isabel figures out and finds the stone. Clark finds Isabel and the two fight. During the engagement, the stone falls out and they both try to reach it, but it knocks them out. Lex and Jason find them both, but the stone is nowhere in sight. Clark makes it back home and finds out that Bridget Crosby had one of the stones for him, but she was nowhere to be found. Jason reveals that he grabbed the stone while Clark and Lana were knocked out. He then had it mailed to himself. Lucy is a filler episode. It follows Lois's sister, Lucy Lane, that came to Smallville. She was considered the perfect daughter, but come to find out, she's a con artist. Lana and Jason's apartment were broken into and the stone was stolen. Lana wants to forget the stones ever existed and wants to focus on her and Jason. However, Jason doesn't feel the same way and accuses Lionel of stealing it. It turns out that Lana was the one who orchestrated the break-in and hid the stone somewhere else from Jason. In the next advancement of the story, Onyx follows Lex experimenting with kryptonite.
Again.
As the experiment goes wrong, he accidentally creates black kryptonite. Lex is hit with a beam of light and the lab explodes. As Lex helps the doctor to the hospital, in the rubble, another Lex emerges. Clark and Chloe check on Lex, and he is more than helpful to share what's been going on, and he invites them to LuthorCorp. Chloe, being skeptical, wants to speak to the doctor and tell Clark to be careful. The other Lex asks the doctor how the effects of the split can be reversed, and finds out about the notes and kills the doctor. At LuthorCorp, as Lex reveals that he is trying to end world hunger, the other Lex overhears and was too late to get the notes. At the mansion, Lex wants Lionel to hold his fundraiser at LuthorCorp in Metropolis. Lex finally meets his other half, and he is locked in a wine cellar so no one can hear him, and the other Lex puts him on an iron mask. Chloe tells Clark about the doctor's death and suspects that Lex could have did it, but Clark doesn't think so. In Lana's apartment, the other Lex comes on to Lana, so she reacted like you think she would, and the other Lex gave her an ultimatum, either be with him or she'd be out on the street. The other Lex cancels Lionel's charity event, believing that Lionel hadn't changed and proved it. More on this in a bit. Chloe confirms that there is another Lex, and he was the one that killed the doctor. Clark goes to warn Lex, but he didn't know that it was the other Lex. The other Lex gets Chloe and Clark to the lab and drop a ton of concrete on them. However, Clark withstood it and saved Chloe while the other Lex saw this. Chloe leaves to go stay with Lois to be safe from the other Lex while Clark figures things out.
Thanks, Lana. Is that what you think of me, Clark? I'm hurt. I thought we were friends.
Where's Lex?
Stay on the bridge when we met. How you were able to save me when my car went into the river. All the other miraculous times you appeared in just the right place at just the right moment. Almost as if you possessed powers and abilities beyond those of mortal men. You lied to me for years, Clark. But now I know your secret. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't! I saw you after the explosion. You lifted a half a ton of concrete like it was nothing.
Evil Lex wants Clark to join her, but Clark doesn't want any parts and wants to know where the real Lex is.
I am the real Lex!
Is he still alive?
Sort of. I mean, I couldn't really be sure what would happen to me if I killed him, so I tucked him away where I can keep an eye on him. Maybe torture him a little when I'm feeling blue.
As Clark strangles Evil Lex, he is weakened by kryptonite thanks to Evil Lex's investigation. Evil Lex warns Clark to join him or everyone he loves will suffer. At the hospital while his parents recover, Clark figures out that Lex made black kryptonite, and he figures out how to put the two Lexes back together. He goes to the mansion and finds Lex. Evil Lex finds him and weakens Clark with kryptonite. As good Lex fights his other half, Clark uses heat vision to make black kryptonite to put the two Lexes back together. Lex goes around apologizing, afraid that that could be the real him, but is slowly trying to claw his way out. I also have a theory on this, but I'll save it for the character portion. Lionel is back in his expensive ass suits and thanks Lex for giving him the wake up call he needed.
A man can't deny his true nature, can he, Lex? No. We're Luthers.
Can I just congratulate Michael Rosenbaum again for a spectacular performance as Evil Lex? He really takes liberties from the comics and movies, but it's sad that this is the Lex Luthor we are building up to see. In the filler episode Spirit, prom for Smallville High has arrived and Chloe wants to boycott. However, thanks to Clark and a few inspired people, Chloe was nominated for prom queen. Dawn Styles, the control freak, was also nominated for queen, but had an unfortunate accident. However, with the effects of kryptonite, she gains the power to possess people's bodies with just a touch. Also, thanks to the effects of kryptonite that alter her sanity, she goes on a spree of hurtful acts to obtain being prom queen, but it was stopped by Jonathan. Clark and Lana were going to sit the prom out, but it turns out they gave in and danced with each other. Also, in this episode, we find out Jason and Genevieve killed Bridget Crosby and tried to put it on Lex. The final 3 filler episodes of the season are Blank, Ageless, and Forever. Blank is about a media freak that can take people's memories up to a few minutes. However, for Clark, all his memories were taken. This gives Chloe time to learn more about Clark's powers. Lana is also sure that she's not going to college and subsequently breaks up with Jason. However, he subtly warns her.
You were the one part of my life that made me forget what I turned into.
What are you talking about?
Just don't give up on me,
Jason.
okay? You have no idea how much I've been protecting you. Do you?
Funny thing for Clark in this episode is that he can fall in love with Lana all over again. Man, I wish I could play this whole clip, had a custom edit and all, but due to copyright reasons, I won't play it, but be sure to watch another version on TikTok or Rumble. Lex tried to exploit Clark's memory loss by lying, saying that they were working on the case together. However, Clark trusted his warning from Chloe. Lex did manage to steal a drawing from the loft of Clark's studies of the cave. Ageless has Clark and Lana care for a baby that is aged to the point where he exploded. It is revealed that Genevieve was the one that got Lionel out of jail and threatens Lionel that she will hurt Lex if she doesn't get the stone from him, even though he doesn't have it. Lionel, however, doesn't take this threat lightly.
No limits.
What have you done to me?
Kill you in a matter of minutes. I'm told that the pain will be excruciating. How about a trade? A trade. You can give me the stone that you stole from Bridget Crosby, and I'll give you the antidote. What? The one more thing. You go near my son, and anything that happens to him happens to you. Is that understood? Where is it?
She gives in and gives Lionel the stone that she had. In the episode Forever, Chloe, Lana, and others were kidnapped by a boy who wants to preserve the memories of high school forever. Lex and Lionel are kidnapped by Jason and Genevieve. They are tortured by the two in the hunt for the last stone. Lionel lies and says that he gave it to Lana, that she's stating that she is the chosen one. They both escape, and Lionel subsequently kills Jason while Genevieve goes after Lana, leading to the season finale, Commencement. We pick up from the previous episode where Lana is confronted by Genevieve.
The one Lionel gave you. Lionel? He never gave me any. I'm gonna find it whether you help me or not.
Isabel possesses Lana one last time and kills Genevieve with the stone, releasing Lana, and the tattoo disappeared. Lana couldn't believe what she had done, which Lex finds her. However, with Isabel killing Genevieve with the stone, it has set off a meteor shower heading to Smallville, which Clark gets a vision of. Lana freaks out and wants to go to tell Jason. However, Lex reassures that everything's going to be okay and wants her to stay in the mansion until everything's worked out. Clark feels that he needs to do something, but his parents tell him not to worry. Not that it's important, but Lois is leaving to go find her sister Lucy. Clark is pretty broken up about it.
Clark, I know how devastated you must be, but if you could just keep your tears to a minimum, I'd appreciate it.
I'll try.
Thanks.
Lois, we want you to know that you are welcome back here anytime. Well, actually,
We'll all miss you, Lois.
As Lex goes to clean up the body, Lionel already taken liberty of doing that. He blackmails Lex into giving her the stone for Lana's freedom, or else Genevieve's body will be delivered to the police. As Clark gets ready for graduation, we get some last bit of banter from Clark and Lois.
You're gonna go to community college, major in agriculture, probably minor in law enforcement, and then you and Lana are gonna have a nice little church wedding.
excuse me?
It's written in the stars and you know it. It's only a matter of time before you join the bowling league, take over the family farm, and then, well, you and Lana can bring little Clark Jr. into the world.
At the graduation ceremony, Clark and Chloe are worried about Lana not showing up. The military shows up and warns the town of the meteor shower. Clark goes home and couldn't find Lana. He also feels responsible for the meteor shower and has to do something. Clark grabs the key to go to the caves, but Lex shows up.
Clark, why take the risk? The first meteor shower caused me irrevocable damage. Trust me, you don't want to be anywhere near here when the next one hits.
Thanks, Lex, but I think my dad's gonna want to pack up the trunk.
There'll be an inner chamber inside the cave wall.
Really?
I was wondering if your research into the cave might have turned up anything similar.
No, but Lex, why are you so interested in the caves when there's a natural disaster headed our way?
Clark, if anything in this town is irreplaceable, it's those caves. They've been around for thousands of years, and they could very well be
I'm starting to notice something here. Like I said, I have the theory, but I'll save it towards the end. Clark goes to the caves and speaks with Jarrell.
Tell me what you've done!
It was you who brought this upon yourself, Kal-El.
Clark has to reunite the stones to become one, or the Earth will be annihilated. Moreover, Jarrell says that the meteor shower is just the beginning. Clark convinced his parents that he had to stay, even though the meteor shower has enough kryptonite, blasting down to where his Clark won't survive. Clark finds Lana in the barn. He tries to get Lana to leave, but she has something to give him, which is the stone.
Clark, I need you to know that whatever happens, I will never forget you.
Lonnie, you're talking like we're never gonna see each other again.
Now we know it's official that she is not with Jason anymore. Back at the mansion, Lana tries to leave a voicemail to Chloe, but Lex instructed her not to talk to anyone until her lawyer arrives. Lex wants to put the stone away for safekeeping, but Lana stands firm. As the Kents were leaving, they are stopped by a very much alive Jason. He holds the Kents at gunpoint, asking where Clark is. Chloe hears Lana's voicemail, and with the distraction from Lois, she heads to the mansion. Even though there's a meteor shower coming down, Lionel still wants the stone. Lex figures out that Lionel has the stone, but of course, Lionel denies it such. Clark can touch the stone, which sends a signal to the stone that Lionel has, leaving Lionel in critical condition. Lex had this to say.
Before you leave this earth, I want you to know you did create the son you always wanted.
Clark hears the signal of the last stone and heads to the mansion. He rips Lex's vault open but is weakened by kryptonite. Back at the farm, Jason figures out Clark's secret, but Jonathan doesn't think none of it matters now. As the meteor shower closes in, Lex still insists on getting the stone from Lana. So she tells the truth, well, some of it, that she doesn't have it. Lex takes it well.
I promise! Where is it?
This was never about my safety, was it? This was about you getting your hands on that stone!
Lana, your safety is more important than any of this. You mean a lot more to me than you know.
Ooh, this theory just keeps building up even more and more. But like I said, I'll wait to the end. Chloe makes it to the mansion and saves Clark from the kryptonite. Once Clark gains consciousness, he super speeds away. Lex comes in and believes that Chloe knows more than that she's letting on. So being on edge, he forces Chloe to ride with him to the caves. The Kents break free and fight Jason, but the meteor shower arrives and one of them hits the Kents' house. On his way to the cave, Clark saves a young boy. Also, he could have been saving as many people as he could. One of the meteors hits Lana's helicopter and brings it down. Clark brings the final stone to the caves and they finally united. Lex and Chloe come down to the caves unknown to Clark. Lex feels that she's coming for Clark, which she is, but she's going to keep that lie alive. Clark grabs the combined stone, which starts making a blinding light. Chloe pushes Lex out of the way as she witnesses Clark in the epicenter. Back at the mansion, Lionel is laid out on the bed, and within his eyes are a sequence of Kryptonian symbols. Clark is transported to looks like the Arctic. Lois is in tears seeing the entire city decimated. Lana is alive but has a broken leg. While crawling to safety, she sees a black spaceship and it opens up. The season concludes with Clark grabbing the stone and hurling it, in a pivotal moment that will unveil his next steps towards his destiny. Season 4 was fun to watch. It was my favorite season overall, and also due to the fact that I had to wait years until I get to watch it as a whole. When my mom remarried, we moved and got DirecTV, but we didn't have the WB network. So I had to rely on pirating and only get a handful of episodes like I stated at the beginning. Anyway, season 4 is a turning point to where nothing will ever be the same going forward. First, we have little to no media freaks of the week. Instead, we dealt with more metahumans who got their powers outside of Smallville. For examples like Trent, Bart, and Mikhail. In some cases, if you did see a media freak of the week, it was only featured in a filler episode. The overall arc of this season was that of the Stones, and I want to say that only a few episodes dealt with them heavily. It's funny how the Luthers and the T's were going at it about the Stones. The two teenagers that were connected to it the most, that wanted to be as far away from it as possible, were Lana and Clark. The way the Stones came together and made one crystal that will make the Fortress of Solitude was cool. Initially, I thought they didn't mean anything. It was just going to be a MacGuffin item to carry the season. But when longtime Superman fans saw Clark at the Arctic, we all were like,
whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
We dive more into the mythology of Superman and DC overall. Bart is the first one I noticed. In the promos of the episode run, they had me believe that he was the Flash that I knew from the Justice League animated series. However, as I learned later on, that was not the case. In the comics, the first Flash was Jay Garrick. Once the Flash was retconned, the Flash alter ego became Barry Allen, the one we all know from the Flash TV series in the 90s, and the one that recently ended. The one I knew from Justice League animated series was Wally West, and he was the Kid Flash and then became Flash once Barry Allen died. Bart Allen's comic origins began in the 31st century. After some time travel stuff, Bart became the sidekick of the third Flash as Impulse. In Smallville, however, Bart's century of origin is the 21st century. When Clark was reading off the aliases Bart had stolen, it turns out that Jay Garrick, Wally West, and Barry Allen all exist in this world of Smallville. However, only Jay Garrick is said to have powers the same as Bart. But more on that later. We have more Easter eggs of Superman in the DC universe. First, we have Lois having a bad dream about a guy in the red cape. It's another nod to the future union of Lois and Clark. Also, Lois said that she would prefer no-red glasses, a nod to where Clark wears glasses to hide his secret identity. In the episode Recruit, the media freak of the week was Jess Johns. Name sound familiar? Because the name is based on the renowned comic book writer and television writer with the same name. A mutual creator that goes by Hopefully Awesome pointed this out as well. They do a weekly podcast going over every episode of Smallville. It's a cool podcast. I interact with them from time to time between retrospects, so you can check them out. Their link will be in the description below. One more thing I thought I'd mention. It's pretty obvious when Bart was about to leave, he said he wanted to find others like him and Clark so they could form a club or a league. This is hinted of the Justice League. Now, let's move on to the characters. Now I feel that the Kent's character development has been capped off this season, and that's okay. Martha had become the manager of the talent to help pay for Jonathan's medical bills. Also, Jonathan being back and forth to the doctor since his heart surgery last season. Clark still blames himself for that as well. We revisit Jonathan's concern about Clark playing football due to the unfair advantage, but he came around and realized that he raised Clark to do the right thing and allowed Clark to start being more independent. He did kind of feel insulted that Clark wanted to stay closer to home once he graduated high school to help out with the farm, but Jonathan argues with Clark saying that he can manage the farm just fine. But by the end, Clark made an adult decision to stick around. I guess it didn't click in Jonathan's brain that he raised Clark well beyond his years. The Kent family seemed to be back together and found a happy place for a while, but Clark's origins came back into play, which caused a new meteor shower, which some of the meteors hits the Kent's farm, with the Kents and Jason inside. Speaking of Jason, at first I thought he was just going to be a new piece of the back and forth between Lana and Clark. However, everything changed once Genevieve came into picture. But as I observed before the season finale, the interactions that you had seen between the two was all an act. They had to keep it up in case someone was watching them. One thing Jason didn't count on was that he actually fell in love with Lana. He was protecting her for Genevieve until Lana broke up with him. It's still unclear when, but I guess it happened off screen. I don't know. Once Jason saw Clark and Lana at the prom together, he knew that it was over. Jason knew of the Countess since he was a child. There were countless artifacts in his household. Also, when he thought he was going on vacation, he really was going on research trips concerning the Countess. I deduced that since a child has been drilled into his head, now that he's an adult and it's just programmed into his brain that they were very close on finding the stones, his mind tells him that, oh, you've been learning about this long enough, now you're close. You got to see it through, no matter what it takes. And I believe that's exactly what happened, because he wasn't above killing, torturing, and kidnapping to get to the truth of something that was forced upon him. I can imagine what Jason went through his entire life. He was cool with Clark until he thought he got him fired, which I still don't understand why Clark didn't explain it, but hey, it makes for good drama. However, once the truth got out that Clark didn't get Jason fired, the ill will was still there because of Lana. This probably prompted him to investigate Clark uninterrupted and was almost going to stumble upon Clark's origins until the meteors hit the Kent's farm while holding the Kents at gunpoint. So, spoiler alert, unfortunately, Jason does not survive the meteor shower. But if you enjoy Jensen Ackles' performance, you can catch him in a little show called Supernatural. I thought since Smallville was airing, we thought that we was never going to get Lois Lane until the end. However, her introduction in season 4 was well done. Erica Durance had a recurring role and was credited as a guest star. I knew that they were going to make her a series regular anyway, but I believe that they made her a recurring role to establish her character. When she was first introduced, we had learned that she had stopped smoking, but it didn't stop the drinking though. Also, like Clark said,
she's bossy. She's stuck up, she's rude. I can't stand her.
However, Lois does show she has a sense of honor and a heart of gold. Remember, she brought Clark back from the brink of killing Alicia's killer. Speaking of her relationship with Clark, at first they were a bit rivals and they always banter, which I love every time I see it. Eventually, her and Clark do care for one another and they are friends by the end of the season. I can't really explain it, but we all know that one day Clark will end up with Lois. But this version on, how are they going to get them there, is pretty damn cool. Lois's mother died when she was younger, so she had to take on the role of mom and help raise her younger sister, Lucy. When Lucy and Lois were held up, they spilled their guts on how they feel about how they were raised. Their father, General Lane, wasn't doing any real normal parenting, but using chain of command system that all military branches use for their junior soldiers. Lois was torn up about it, however, Lucy didn't care as long as she got to have her dad. However, Lois doesn't see it that way, due to her believing that neither of them had a dad. By the end of the season, she sees looking over the decimated Smallville. Well, next season, she will be promoted to series regular, like I said. Oh, one more thing. Did you know that the traits of Lois' character was supposed to go to Chloe, meaning that in a way, Chloe was going to become Lois Lane? Chloe had dialed back her journalist persona more. I felt like other than the torch, she enjoyed her high school senior year like any other high school student. Once she survived her testimony against Lionel, it was all good for her. She still had feelings for Clark, but after being shut down, she was more understanding and wanted to keep their friendship. When she found out Clark's secret, instead, she held back on confronting him and just stand back and learn more about him. This shows how Chloe matured since the beginning of the series, because if this was season 1 Chloe, she would have been explored Clark for a story and not regarding on how he felt about it. Now, she stands back and waits for Clark to tell her when he's ready. She knew that she had to protect Clark while he had amnesia, especially from Lex, and even by the end of the season, went beyond as she managed to knock out Lex. Her loyalty will be rewarded next season. Lionel, once he got out of jail, tried to be more religious and more charitable, but evil Lex shut that down quickly, and we got the old Lionel back. It was also revealed that Genevieve was the one that got his conviction overturned and wanted a favor. But Lionel wasn't having that, as he poisoned her to get the stone that was taken from Richard Crosby. Being in jail taught him patience and acting behind the scenes, putting everyone against each other so he can have the stones for himself. He just wanted everyone to do the heavy lifting. When Isabel killed Genevieve, he saw an opportunity to get another stone. However, he didn't get a chance to once Clark sent a signal to the stone that he possessed and put in a countertonic state and had Kryptonian symbols be repeated in his eyes. What does it mean? We'll just have to wait and find out. With Lana, I felt that the writers needed something for her to do this season to tie into Clark's origins, even if it stops at the stones. I felt that if it wasn't for the stones, Lana would have stayed in Paris indefinitely. But think about it. All that money she wasted. But to give her credit, if I ever saw a tattoo just appear on my back, I'll run back home to make sense of it. But it doesn't explain or where those unaccounted 24 hours went. Did the writers forget? Because they never came back around to that. When she returned to Smallville, she didn't want to resume her duties at the Talon, so she just wanted to rent the apartment above it. I feel bad for Lana. Rather than focus on her senior year, she had to deal with a witch that could possess her body any time, and her love triangle with Clark and Jason. She did like Jason and wanted to be with him, but the stones and Jason's programming since birth doomed it. She tried to forget about Clark, but by the end of the season, she trusted him with the stone and confessed her love to him. But one thing I can say about Lana is that she had every excuse to wear shirts and blouses with that back out. I'm surprised Jason didn't hit that, like, at all. Probably because of his quest for the stones were more important, but you get the point. She decided to stay in Smallville after graduating, believing that she wants to explore the opportunities there. Well, those opportunities may be in jeopardy since she killed Genevieve. And even though she was possessed, the authorities wouldn't believe it. So Lex tried to help her as such, but wanted the stone from her, but she had already given it to Clark. Lana's broken leg had returned from last season, but she managed to get the strength to the crater that the spaceship caused, so she looks in horror as the spaceship opens up. Lex had known of the stone's existence for quite some time. This is just a theory of mine. He more than likely got the research documents once Lionel went to jail. He inherited Lionel's obsession of the caves, but little did Lex know, his new obsession with the caves and his obsession with Clark are one and the same. When he renewed his friendship with Clark, you think things would have been different, that he stopped investigating Clark. But however, when asked,
How do I know you don't have a copy?
You don't, but it's the truth.
well, that is true, Lex. You still are investigating Clark, but you're being smarter about it. He lied to Clark about his findings and also used Clark's amnesia against him. Lex's more darker side really showed us how Lex could really be before he got back with his other half. However, I don't think that's what happened. I have two theories. One, I think that the other Lex won out, but got the other Lex's memories, but his own evil motivation stayed the same. He just had to put the pieces together on what he knew before the merge back. The other is that the Lex that we know is back, but those feelings that evil Lex had started to come out, like his creepy, hinted feelings for Lana for one. I mean, I could imagine when she came back as a grown-ass woman, those feelings started to flourish. But now in retrospect, you can call him a groomer, as Gen Z would call it. Back then, I didn't think nothing of it. Hell, I didn't think anything would come of it. He went off on the deep end when Clark took the stone, but he suspected Chloe and forced her to ride with him to the caves. He is close on Clark's secret, but Chloe knocked him out with ease. Damn, for a guy who doesn't get sick and survive a fatal poisoning, he sure does get knocked out easily. There's probably a soft spot on that bald head of his. Don't worry, I'm sure he will be angry once he wakes up next season. Clark returning and getting back to his normal self was a little too quick for me. I thought it was going to be at least 2 episodes while he was Kal-El. And it's kind of odd that Jarrell didn't comfort him afterwards. It was just weird that he didn't. Anyway, Clark just wanted to enjoy his senior year and play football, which he ended up convincing Jonathan to let him play. However, part of Clark's growth shows that he had to make the difficult decision of his life that he has to give up football because of what happened with Jeff Johns cheating his way to the top and was willing to do anything to keep it. Clark would have to do the same thing, if not worse. This was the most mature decision that Clark ever made. He has given up the one thing that makes him feel somewhat normal. I'm glad that Clark had options to go to any college. His parents think that it's because of Lana, and they feel that Clark also thinks they can't run the farm without him. That may be true, but Clark says that it's his decision to stay in Smallville. He still pines for Lana, even though he had pushed her away for her safety. But even with his amnesia, he still fell in love with her all over again. I can imagine of being in love in high school like that. I mean, I had a first love before. I tried to do what Clark would do. Well, that would have been easy not to do because I don't have otherworldly powers, or I was an insane child looking for 1,000-year-old stones. It would have been simple for me. But anyway, Clark tried to get over Lana by getting with Alicia. I felt Clark was kind of desperate to date the woman that tried to kill the woman you still in love with, but I guess people got over it or accepted it in a way, or not at all. Clark did love Alicia, and they could have closed the door of him and Lana forever, but I guess it was for the best that Alicia be killed off because I don't think that she could have handled Clark's alien origins. I wanted to bet my bottom dollar on it. Now, we all know that Clark was supposed to be with Lois. It's written in stone for the most part. But in their humble beginnings, he often finds chances to bag on Lois and is easily annoyed by her. That also makes everyone around him feel that Clark and Lois will never, ever be together. By the end of the season, they do care for one another in a brother and sister kind of way. Now, even though the show forgot Clark met other people with powers that didn't come from Smallville, it was a breath of fresh air that he could stir someone like Bart in the right direction. I feel that he sees Bart as a little brother that he never had and just wants the best for Bart. Hopefully, Clark will see him again someday. As he doesn't know that Chloe knows his secret, when he lost his memories, he trusted Chloe and trusted his gut not to trust Lex. Speaking of Lex, I feel that the friendship between Clark will never be the same again given what happened last season. You can feel that things are different, and even Clark tells Jonathan that he's not going into the friendship with his eyes closed, and it shows. You can see that now he questions everything that Lex did that deems immoral. There are times that I felt that Clark wanted to end the friendship again, but he was still willing to give it a shot, even though ultimately he didn't trust him with a secret like that. I know that Clark was more sure that he couldn't trust Lex due to what happened with evil Lex, even though it was the evil side that was doing those things. And one day those feelings could actually come out to the real Lex. But maybe I'm being biased on like how Clark was when he was on Red K. Because let's be honest, if Clark was not on Red K, he would have not have attempted to marry Alicia, attempted to have sex with her, and took her to goddamn Las Vegas and destroyed her bracelet. It's completely different from what Lex went through. Going back to the saga of the Stones, Clark, didn't want anything to do with them. But at the same time, his destiny kept calling. And he was in between two powerful families that wanted the Stones, but did not know that the Stones were actually meant for an alien farm boy that was just enjoying his high school senior year. No one suspected Clark until the end of the season. And I also question that how Clark found the Stones very quickly was a bit anticlimactic, but I believe he would have found the other two in the initial episode that he was Kal-El. We will find out what's next for Clark once the next part of his journey plays out next season. Season 4 has a special place in my heart. I could watch it over and over again. The characters had a chance to grow outside their comfort zone, and with the addition of Lois, make the season even better. I wrote this episode pretty quickly this time because I wanted to have this out in a timely manner. I had planned on having 3 episodes out a year, so you won't have to wait long for the next one. But what's in store for the characters of Smallville? A relationship rekindled, a friendship ends, a longtime character from the beginning will meet their demise, more superpowered heroes from the DC universe will team up with Clark, and an artificial intelligence that will help bring about the end of the world, bringing forth a classic DC villain, as we continue in June or July with Smallville Season 5. I appreciate the ones who do watch this retrospect, even though I'm really doing this for myself and my enjoyment, and I be having a lot of fun. When I'm finished with Smallville, the entire series, I'll be moving on with the series Arrow. My community voted out and this show won. Also, be sure to look out for the next voting for the complete series that I will review after Arrow, so be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, you can catch my other videos like Burst Talk, an unscripted show that I talk about various forms of media and sometimes scandals. I also do movie, comic, anime, and video game reviews, so I highly encourage you to check those out. That's all for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and I'll catch you all next time.